Moving into Section 1, the six-day assumption.
We really need to start by establishing the cultural baseline that most of us are familiar with. The traditional biblical perspective found in Exodus chapter 20, verse 11, reads like this: "For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea, and all that is in them, but he rested on the seventh day." This right here is ground zero for the six-day creation concept. When most people hear about the creation of the universe in a religious context, this specific framework of 6 days followed by a day of rest is what instantly comes to mind. It's a huge assumption baked into a lot of historical Western thought.
But when we compare this assumption with another major ancient text, the Quran, we find a subtle yet profound shift. You see, there's a pretty common misconception that the Quran simply repeats the exact same six-day account as the Bible. But our source material points out some absolutely critical differences. Quran chapter 50, verse 38 says, "The heavens and the earth were created in 6 periods or days, and no fatigue touched us." The source notes that this explicit mention of no fatigue is a very distinct nuance. It's presented as being uniquely befitting for an almighty God who wouldn't actually require physical rest. It's a subtle but really profound shift in the narrative.
Okay, Section 2, Lost in Translation.
To truly understand what these ancient texts are actually communicating, we have to look closely at the original language. The whole translation issue centers around the Arabic word used in the Quranic creation verses, yawm, with its plural being ayyam. Now, while it's commonly translated into English as a standard 24-hour day, classical Arabic dictionaries, like the highly respected Lane's Lexicon, state that its primary meaning is simply time. That could be a little amount of time or a massive amount of time. So it totally disrupts the assumption that yawm strictly means the time it takes for the Earth to rotate exactly once on its axis.
In fact, this word is incredibly flexible across the text. Sometimes it means a specific event or just a fleeting moment. Other times it translates directly to today or that exact moment. And crucially, it's frequently used to describe an unspecified length of time, like a long period or an entire era. It is definitely not locked into a rigid 144-hour grid.
So the really crucial point here is this logical deduction highlighted by our source material. A 24-hour day is only logically possible after the Earth and Sun have been created. Think about it for a second. A day, as we experience it, is defined by the Earth's rotation relative to the Sun. Therefore, interpreting yawm as a literal 24-hour day prior to the existence of the Sun and the Earth, it just doesn't fit the context of the universe's initial creation. It logically has to mean an era or a period.
That brings us to Section 3, a question of time.
The text actually explicitly deals with the relativity of time. Multiple verses use the word yawm to describe durations vastly different from our normal human experience, clearly implying that time is not a fixed length. Therefore, when we're looking at the creation duration, the implication is pretty undeniable. The heavens and earth were created in 6 periods, or eras, not literal 24-hour days.
And this leads to a truly fascinating divergence. A literal, traditional reading of biblical genealogies, tracing family lines all the way back to Adam, often calculates the Earth to be roughly 6,000 to 10,000 years old. But in contrast, the Quranic text takes a completely different approach. It remains entirely silent on the exact age of the Earth. It simply doesn't mention or even allude to a specific numerical age in years.
All right, let's get into Section 4, the cosmic ratio.
This is exactly where all these linguistic clues build up to an unexpected mathematical twist. Let's look closely at Quran chapter 41, verse 9. It reads, "Say, you are rejecting the one who has created the earth in 2 periods, and you set up equals with him." Did you catch that detail? The creation of the earth itself is explicitly stated to have taken exactly 2 of these mysterious, unspecified periods.
Okay, let's actually dive into this math, because this is where it gets really fun. If the entire universe was created in 6 periods, and the Earth specifically was created in 2 of those periods, we have a clear mathematical ratio presented right there in the ancient text, 2 out of 6. Simplified, that's exactly 1/3, or 33.3%. Keep that ratio in your head.
Now, let's fast forward a few thousand years to modern astrophysics and the latest scientific consensus. The best, most current estimate for the age of the universe is approximately 13.8 billion years. Meanwhile, the scientific estimate for the age of our own planet, the Earth, is 4.54 billion years.
So, when we run the numbers side by side with our ancient text, something amazing happens. If we take the scientifically established age of the Earth, which is 4.54 billion years, and divide it by the scientific age of the universe, 13.8 billion years, the result is 0.33. That is exactly 1/3.
Based purely on modern scientific data, the Earth's age represents a 33% slice of the total timeline of the universe. It perfectly mirrors the ancient 2:6 ratio we just uncovered. The ancient text, despite not giving a literal age in years, provides a proportional ratio of creation eras that aligns seamlessly with the latest billions of years calculations from modern science. I mean, it is an incredibly precise fit.
Now, as enthusiastic as I am about this correlation, our source material is very careful to frame this properly. This is an interesting, albeit speculative, observation. We don't actually know the exact length of time the word yawm refers to in these specific verses. In fact, the original text often concludes this kind of thought with, "God knows best." So we are looking at a mathematical correlation, a fascinating alignment of ratios, rather than a definitive scientific proof textbook. But as an observation derived straight from the texts, it's undeniably intriguing.
Which leaves us with this final thought. If a simple, linguistically accurate shift from the word days to periods reveals a mathematical mirror to modern science, what other secrets might be hiding in plain sight within ancient translations? When we look past our cultural assumptions and actually study the structure and the vocabulary of historical sources, entire new worlds of understanding open up. I really hope this explainer gave you a totally new lens through which to view these ancient words. Thank you so much for learning with me today, and definitely keep questioning what you think you know.